Welcome to the Drake Toll Show, and good morning. Following the college football playoff on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and what a 48 hours it was on the gridiron. I'm Drake Toll with you from Savannah, Georgia, from the Savannah Bananas organization and Locked On Big 12, giving you all things sports on the Drake Toll Show here with Westwood One Sports. Alabama loses. Not just loses, Alabama is blown out at the hands of Indiana. On top of that, Texas Tech falls to Oregon and fails to score a point. Ole Miss gets the best of Georgia last night despite the lack of Lane Kiffin, their head coach, and Ohio State. Stunned by Miami, a 10-point favorite when the week opened. And it's the Buckeyes who fall in the postseason this weekend across the NFL. Games that determine the playoffs, games that determine seeding. Will the Buccaneers or the Panthers win, and will it matter? Baltimore and Pittsburgh win, and you're in. Lamar Jackson can go back to the postseason despite the regular season woes. And Aaron Rodgers could be playing his final game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. All of that and more. But we must start with Curt Cignetti. 310-840-4910. It's 310-840-4910 to get in on the conversation today on the Drake Toll Show. Alabama loses. And Curt Cignetti proves once again that he is the modern-day Timothy Dexter. See, Timothy Dexter was the everyman. Colonial America. He's hanging out, doing things as you would in colonial America. But people seemed to really dislike Timothy Dexter. He called himself the Lord of Newburyport. Kind of is poorly educated. He's like, I'm Lord Timothy Dexter. He claimed the title. He said, Google me, before Google was a thing. Then during the Revolutionary War, the Continental Dollar became nearly worthless. Dexter used his modest savings to buy a massive amount of these dollars that were a fraction of a cent. But then when the U.S. government took over after the Revolutionary War, they redeemed the currency at face value. And he became an overnight millionaire. So he got lucky. Then bed warmers in the tropics. As soon as Timothy Dexter got lucky with his whole continental currency deal, his rivals said, we don't like the guy who calls himself the Lord of Newburyport winning. So they said, you know what you should do? You should buy bed warmers and send them to the West Indies. Now, if you know anything about the West Indies, it's always hot. But Timothy Dexter, listening to his, as he thought, friends, decides to go to the West Indies with these bed warmers, and he arrives at the exact time of a molasses boom. Planters would buy these to use as ladles for their boiling sugar. A huge profit for a guy who brought bed warmers to the West Indies. Comes back to the United States. His rivals say, you know what you should do now? This will certainly fail him. Sell coal to Newcastle. He was advised to ship coal to Newcastle, England, which was the world's leading coal producer. He arrived at the exact time of a miners' strike. His shipment was the only coal available in Newcastle, the world's leading coal producer, and he sold it for a fortune. Following this, the guy's loaded. Dexter can do whatever he wants. So he decides, I'm going to gather thousands of stray cats from the streets of Massachusetts. Let's make this thing a good, let's be a good Samaritan here and take these off the street. And I'll send them to my favorite place, the Caribbean. The islands were suffering at the time from a rat plague. He sells the cats to warehouse owners for high prices. Then he goes on to publish the punctuation-free book, A Pickle for the Knowing Ones, 8,847 words, zero punctuation. When asked about it, he said, hey, no, pepper and salt it as you please. At a fake funeral, 3,000 people showed up. He watched his widow cry from a window, but he felt like she wasn't crying enough. Then he built a mansion decorated with 40 giant wooden statues of great men, including George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, and himself. His own statue said the greatest philosopher in the Western world. That was Timothy Dexter. And he has been reborn as Curt Cignetti. The Indiana Hoosiers and what they did to Alabama. They've proven that everything this man touches wins. Everything when he said, Google me from the podium at Indiana. Do you remember how lackluster Indiana was before he got there? Tom Allen, 3 wins, the worst record in the Big Ten. And then Cignetti walks through the doors and now has them on the doorstep of a national championship into the quarterfinal, holding the mighty Alabama Crimson Tide to 3. We have audio from the radio broadcast of Indiana, Alabama in the second quarter. This is when I knew things are real for IU and the Hoosiers when Fernando Mendoza hooked up to Charlie Becker.
Kalen Black is back in the lineup. Here's the snap back to Fernando.
You can attribute them all to Learfield.
Oh, what a catch! Charlie Becker! Touchdown, Indiana! Tremendous throw by Fernando Mendoza. Catch by Becker, who had to leap and pull it in.
Credit to Learfield for the audio as well. Indiana wins over Alabama in resounding fashion. Final score 38-3. And you wonder, as much as we complain about James Madison being there, as much as we complain about Tulane being there, there are certainly cases to change the format of the college football playoff because it is a broken system. But 38-3 Indiana versus Alabama is yet another line in the chapter of the book that outlines how when you allow 12 teams into the playoff, you are asking for endless blowouts. And we saw 3 games decided by double-digit points in this round. Then last night, Ole Miss and Georgia. The dynasty for the Bulldogs is done. Actually, there was no dynasty. There was a question of can the Bulldogs begin a dynasty? And that is a Kirby Smart missed opportunity. When the college football world was at your fingertips, when Kirby Smart could do no wrong, when he had won back-to-back national championships, the idea was that Kirby and company will be here for good. And they're there. They're in the playoff. They're just not in the national championship. Again, 3 years in a row now where Georgia has missed the big game, where the dynasty question can likely be put to rest because of what Georgia gave you against Ole Miss in a 39-34 loss to a team without Lane Kiffin. Kiffin was in the storylines this week saying that he wanted to go to the game. He wanted to be on the ESPN broadcast. Believe it or not, A, I'm walking on air. B, Lane Kiffin wanted to be in the spotlight. 5-point loss for the Bulldogs in a game where Georgia had every opportunity to win. They had gone up by 9 points. Ole Miss at the end of the first half has an opportunity for a field goal, but instead of, with 0 timeouts, going out of bounds, an Ole Miss receiver just drops to his knees, barks like he wants it, and they go to the half, still down to Georgia by double digits. The Bulldogs enter the fourth quarter with a lead. 75 straight games Georgia has won going into the fourth quarter with a lead, and this breaks the streak as Pete Golding gets glory in New Orleans and proves that Ole Miss is out to prove that they can win a national championship sans Lane Kiffin. They don't even need the head coach. The game-winning field goal, as heard on Learfield, to give Ole Miss the 37-34 lead and ultimately the win. Here's the sound. That was the defining moment where you knew Ole Miss was going to win. And then the safety. If you had taken Georgia plus 3.5 live in this game on the kickoff return where Georgia wanted to do the pitchy woo-woo and try to go win it, They throw the ball out of the back of the end zone, and the safety gives Ole Miss a 39-34 win. Then there's Oregon, Texas Tech. 23-0. I think we can begin the conversation about how the format is disenfranchising teams that sit. Now, what you'll say is that Indiana is the exception to that. But now one of eight teams in 2 years that got a bye in the college football playoff have won their first game. That is not a sustainable model. If you go 1 for 8 every 2 days in the MLB, you're no longer on a roster. That math does not check out, and it does not work, and the format is not there. But Texas Tech, they seem to be a blockbuster. Patience, not a virtue. In the modern historical context, Blockbuster had the opportunity to do the obvious thing and buy Netflix for $50 million. But what the administrators, the executives of Blockbuster decided to do was to be, quote, patient. We're going to be patient. We think that DVD by mail is a niche market. It won't last. Brick and mortar's dominating. Everybody loves to go in person to our Blockbuster. By the time they realized the digital shift was permanent, Netflix was a giant. You couldn't catch them. Blockbuster goes bankrupt. Netflix, multi-billion-dollar empire. They're buying things everywhere. Texas Tech said, hey, we're going to be patient. 26 days off between games here. Same thing happened for the Georgia Bulldogs. Same thing happened for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And those teams were routed. Now you say, well, Indiana won their game and they had to bye. Boss, I need you to understand this Indiana team is generational. They just beat Alabama 38-3. This Indiana team operates different. They walk different. Last year, 0-4. This year, 1-3. It is a clear sign the teams getting a bye are at a disadvantage. I'd rather play a cupcake game 10 days before I play in the college football quarterfinal than I would go in cold, because these teams have not seen serious contact. They have not seen tackling in practice. Well, why don't they tackle each other in practice? If you've watched a college or NFL practice, you know that these things are really scaled back. It's not like when we played middle school or junior high and tackle football during practice is the normal thing. Instead, what they're doing is taking it easy as not to get hurt. There's a reason you don't every day see broken fibula suffered in practice by X player. The reason you don't get that is because practices are dialed back a little bit. This whole rest versus rust conversation is still a legitimate conversation when it comes to not just Texas Tech, but also Ohio State, also Georgia. The fatigue that gets to you, namely come the fourth quarter when you say, man, I haven't done this in a month. These guys did this 10 days ago. They were prepping for a team 10 days ago. And you say, well, you've had 4 weeks to game plan. You understand that in college football, coaches usually get 1 week to get. All they need is 1 week to game plan, 1 week to build their scouting reports. After that first week, they're going, okay, what more could we know? Their favorite cereal? Could we know their GPAs? Can we get individual GPAs for these players? What more can you know in 4 weeks you could not know in 10 days? The disadvantage is clear. 1 win in 8 games for the teams in the playoff that got the bye. When the math doesn't work out, when it's proven now that you are at a disadvantage for having a better regular season, that needs to be edited. That needs to be changed. You know what also needs to be changed? And I am a fervent believer in this one. The SEC, Southeastern Conference, being the number 1 conference in football, and in your brain thinking that they are the top dog. That is what needs to change, and there's a reason it's going to change as they have fallen apart this bowl season. Alabama is the latest example. Here is the downfall of the SEC, and that's coming up on the Drake Toll Show. All right. Hey, Curtis. Oh, it's gone now. No way. Sure, Curtis, I can't hear you very well underneath the music, commercial music. It is the Drake Toll Show. Friday, January 2nd, 2026, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. Drake Toll with you from the Savannah Bananas organization and Locked On Big 12. College football playoff, NFL. This is the week of our lives. This is the apex of sports. When football comes to the end of the year and you realize it's not done yet, no, we're just getting to the best part. Indiana beating Ohio State to move on to the semifinal, seeing teams like Ole Miss, who hasn't been able to get to the big one. Their head coach leaves because he wants to win a national championship and thinks he can only do it at LSU. Ho, contraire. Now Ole Miss is going to the semifinal. The idea that we will have Oregon, Ole Miss, Indiana, and Miami. One of those teams will win the national championship in 2026. There is new blood among us in college football. Can Indiana or Oregon pull off their first? Can Ole Miss get back to glory? Can Miami prove they're just as good as they were 2 decades ago or prior to that under Howard Schnellenberger? That is the question. And nationally, in the National Football League, the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Steelers, the 49ers, the Panthers, the Buccaneers. Plenty to watch, plenty to talk about in the MVP and Rookie of the Year race. But the aforementioned teams, many have this in common. Those college football teams, that is. They play in the SEC. Drake Toll with you on the Drake Toll Show. Addie Bates produces. Curtis Poindexter running the board. 310-840-4910 is the call or text line to get in on the conversation. Addie, question for you. What is the best conference in college football? Before I go in to why I think the changing of the guard is official, the SEC no longer the best league in the sport, you as the SEC expert, I'd like to hear why. The Southeastern Conference has gone consecutive years now without making the national championship game. And I know everybody wants to rag on what Ohio State did or Texas Tech did. But last year, the team with the bye out of the SEC was Georgia. They had 3 points scored in the first half. They lost to Notre Dame. The SEC got 5 teams into the college football playoff. After 2 rounds, their only win against another conference will be versus Tulane. Now, look, certainly when we watch the SEC play against itself, we think these are 2 very strong teams that are squaring off. But when we've watched the SEC play against teams that aren't itself this bowl season, well, the Southeastern Conference was 1-5 this week versus non-SEC teams where it just means more. I watched as Missouri lost to Virginia. I watched as LSU lost to Houston. And those weren't the stalwarts of the conference. No, of course not. Those were teams that were in the middle of the pack, 7 or 8 wins. But then when you do look at the stalwarts of the league, like in Oklahoma, who blew a 17-point lead to Alabama, you start to think it's hard to quantify whether or not the SEC is good or bad when it beats itself. How do we analyze a win for Georgia over Ole Miss or a loss for Georgia against Ole Miss? Does it give the SEC more brownie points? Well, I don't think it can. Of course it can't, actually, because you're playing yourself. We need you to play somebody else. When they played somebody else, 1-5 the bowl season, and that one win, Addy, the Texas Longhorns against Michigan. Group of 5 gets so much hate, James Madison and Tulane coaches. But I bet those coaches are sitting back today and they're thinking, why do they let the SEC, the Big 12, into the college football playoff? Don't they know how to score touchdowns in those leagues, Alabama and Texas Tech combining for 3 points? Shouldn't there be some type of minimum requirement, some sort of strength of schedule requirement or a strength of record metric to play a minimum number of Big 10 and ACC teams to qualify for this playoff? Because we spend so much time. And I'll tell you, I still believe the playoff needs help. We don't allow in the National Football League, we don't say, hey, who are the most disenfranchised teams that we might be overlooking and how can we get them into the playoff? No, it doesn't work like that. And I'm not sure college football should work like that either. But after the blowouts that we've seen in the playoff with this format, what we have to understand about the SEC, what we have to understand about how to judge these leagues is if you're not winning championships, and you're seeing teams get blown out 38-3. Now, this goes for the Big 12 as well. This goes for the ACC last season or the ACC this year, not even making the playoff with their champion Duke. An 8-5 Duke team won the Atlantic Coast Conference. That is not a good mark for where their league sits. And Texas Tech losing 23-0 is not a good mark for where the Big 12 sits. But it might just be indicative of the Big 10, Indiana to Oregon, being the top conference in college football. Danny Cannell tweets, the committee has to stop gifting the SEC almost half of the playoff field. You can't just say, hey, this is a year where the NFC, I'll use this example. This is a year where the NFC South will say, very hypothetically, the NFC South is very good. Let's just let all 4 teams in. Let's just put them in the playoff because they're the strongest division. We don't do that in the NFL. Whereas in college football, we look at the SEC and say, hey, let's put 5 of the 12 teams, almost half the field, from their league. Bowl season and the playoffs, Cannell says, have really revealed how the conference just isn't that much better than everyone else, period. End of story. 38-3. We talk a lot about TCU losing to Georgia and how the Georgia Bulldogs dominated the Frogs in a game, the national championship game, that proved that the Big 12 shouldn't be there, or that, ultimately the SEC is just that much better. Well, since then, the conference has not made the national championship, I'll note, and they may not again this year. But 38-3 between Alabama and Indiana equates to 65-5. That was just as much of a blowout as Georgia and TCU. Group of 5 teams lose by 17, and it's damning referendum. Jason Kirk says whether half the country should be allowed to compete or not. But when a team from the Big 10 loses by 10, the Big 12 by 23, or the SEC by 35, it's an isolated incident with very important context. And since 2023, the SEC, this is the final damning stat, have played 8 college football playoff games against other power conference teams. They are 2-6, with the only wins being Addy, once again, congratulations, Texas beating Clemson at home, and then Arizona State in 2024. Michigan beat Alabama. Washington beat Texas. Texas beat Arizona State and Clemson, but Ohio State beat Tennessee and Texas. Notre Dame beat Georgia. Indiana beat Alabama. Addy, I just don't see, based off playoff results, how the Big 10 can be inferior to the SEC in the conversation. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They beat Vanderbilt. They beat A&M. It's just a serious, that's what I'm saying. We all have some of the cupcake teams, but Texas isn't playing these cupcake teams at the very end of the season, like some of these other schools. Yeah. So I still think, regardless of kind of who wins a national championship here, just these schedules are hard. And they are hard and they're brutal and they beat the guys up coming into this point of the season.
Can I push back on your strength of schedule argument?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I want to make sure I read the number 54 correctly. Yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drake Toll on the Drake Toll Show, by the way. Addie Bates, the producer, SEC enthusiast. Beginning this season, the top 20 teams in college football in strength of schedule, 16 of those teams came out of the SEC. 16 of those teams came out of the SEC. So with Missouri, who had the worst strength of schedule in the conference, being ranked as the 20th team in the league in strength of schedule, 20th team in the country, I should say, in strength of schedule, but still a top 20 team, and one of those 16 to be in the top 20, those Missouri Tigers with their 8 home games created what was a strength of schedule loop. Because if you're the number 20 team in the country, say Missouri, who spent a good portion, half the year in the top 25. Was that deserving? Turns out probably not. Tennessee spending a good portion of the year in the top 25, deserving? Probably not. Auburn was in the top 25 this season, deserving? Absolutely not. When you look at the way the SEC has their strength of schedule weighted, and strength of schedule is a metric that we use the blue chip recruits that you have, what you did last season. It's kind of the subjective thing we build in the preseason based off the subjective rankings that a lot of sports writers will throw together and put together in this modern era. And what happens is when the team with the 20th best strength of schedule plays the team with the 8th best, the team with the 12th best plays the team with the 5th best, it loopholes itself to where we all stay up in strength of schedule nationally. And that is where Oftentimes we point to the strength of schedule, strength of record, strength of schedule, strength of record. The SEC finds itself weighted differently than even the Big Ten. Again, I think strength of schedule is a fair argument and a fair fight, and I think it's a good nugget of why we have this conversation. But Addy, 1-5 against non-SEC teams, does it still just mean more?
Of course it just means more. Of course it just means more. You know what? If I'm going 1-5, hey, I'm still probably getting a multi-million-dollar contract if I'm in the MLB.
It's always going to just mean more, isn't it?
Absolutely. Has to.
Of course it does. This is a lot of college football. The SEC, the Big Ten, two leagues that are still at the top of the sport. I don't think the ACC or the Big 12 have broken close to either of them on the field yet. There are some big losers, though. Texas Tech lost by 23. Alabama lost by 35. And they're not even on the list of the biggest losers of the day. Who are those big losers? We'll find out on the Drake Toll Show.
It's the final week of the NFL regular season, and the playoffs are on the line. Carolina, Tampa Bay, tomorrow afternoon at 4 Eastern on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app.
Addy, are you going to have a Carolina-Tampa Bay watch party?
Two worst teams. The two worst performing teams right now. It comes down to them.
Lysis this morning. The phone line's been open the whole time.
Phone line's open?
Been open, yeah. No one's called us. We had like
Okay,
four
great.
people call us yesterday, which is weird.
Dang. If they do call, if you'll throw it in that shared doc.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing yesterday is I would screen them and then whatever segment we were in, I'd kind of just put it there, like at the top.
Yep, huge. Right next to the time of day.
Because scrolling around would be a bitch.
Yeah, no doubt.
I can easily do
Drake
I'm working on that now, but I think it should be viable.
They heard us. They heard me for a second. They said, "Come on,
Yeah,
Curtis."
Should still be
Again, I have no control over it.
It's so funny. It's like my favorite.
You know what else you sing once a day?
Believe it or not.
I dropped you one of those in that first segment.
I did. I know, and it's so funny. Yeah, we both said it too. We were talking to each other's
We're
ears.
on delay, but it was at the same time, technically.
That's good.
30.
Yes, they could still hear us.
Good. None of this is my fault, just so everyone knows.
At least Drake hasn't told anyone to touch themselves yet.
Nice. I will.
Plenty of time. All right, 10.
I'll queue up Kalen Deboer here too, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We're back in the Drake Toll Show. Oh, do you feel it? We're the prime spot. College football, NFL. We're only like 45 days away from Banana Ball starting. Come on. Drake Toll with you on the Drake Toll Show. What a first week it's been. Westwood One Sports kicking off. Nick Costos coming on after us has done an incredible job. Leading into that guy that's pressure, hardcore pressure. Bleckett Abdallah will join us next week. Jim Rome, you know him. I've been listening to the Josh Graham show. I think I like it. He was very aggressive against the Big 12 yesterday. I had to give him a phone call, keep him in line. Good guy, man. It's an honor to work with Westwood One Sports and to have you on the air with us. When I was a kid, I would listen to Kevin Harlan or Ian Eagle on Westwood One on Sundays on 103.7 The Buzz, the local station in Little Rock, Arkansas. And it just felt different. It was the Oxford University of media, right? You hear the other big names, but then Westwood One comes on. And now I get to say the words Westwood One into a microphone and represent what that means. And I think it's a very, very cool thing. And to have you with us for the first week, just imagine the listenership as it grows over the course of the next few years. And you were here for week one. And I personally think that's pretty cool. I, too, also here for week one. Good to see you. Great to be here. Time for some biggest losers on the Drake Toll Show. Arch Manning, biggest loser number one. Producer Addie Bates, the biggest Texas Longhorns fan that I've ever known, says that he's losing his roommate, his top target, Parker Livingston, to the transfer portal, and that this thing is destroying NCAA sports. I think the biggest loser of every day can be the transfer portal. Iowa State, 15, 16 players left on their roster. The rest of them are gone. We've got guys at USC and Texas A&M who are signing extensions, multi-year contracts to stay with their school. Drew Mestemaker, the quarterback at North Texas that led the Mean Green to such a legendary season in 2025. Conference championship appearance, one of the best QBs in the country, 4,000 passing yards, said, I'm out. I'm signing a 2-year deal. We have college kids signing multi-year deals with their schools. And that is the case for Drew Mestemaker from North Texas. The transfer portal has failed us. The system has failed us. And a portion of that goes to Arch Manning, who will lose his roommate to the transfer portal after the Texas Longhorns played the Cheez-It Bowl this season and didn't quite live up to expectations. I think next year, Arch Manning has announced he is coming back to the program. He'll be driving his Lambo around campus. Fret not. Next year, Arch Manning and company will be one of the top 5 teams, top 10 teams at least preseason out of the SEC But without Parker Livingston, and by the way, he can still come back. There are players in the transfer portal, and this is another one of the craziest layers, who are scheduling their visits, saying, I'm transferring out of Oklahoma State, and I'm scheduling my visits to Penn State, Ohio State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State. Why on God's earth do you have to visit the school that you're leaving? You've seen all the things. They've got the cold tub. They've got the hot tub. You know what the fan base is like. This is a very gimme system for collegiate athletes that are being told to go, told to find greener pastures. And those greener pastures aren't always there and may not be there for Parker, though he's a very good wide receiver this year in his redshirt freshman campaign. Another biggest loser, the Big 12 Conference. And that's tough. As a guy who hosts Locked On Big 12 and talks Big 12 Conference every day, as a guy who fought tooth and nail to get BYU into the field, and I still think that we're talking about how you get in the field, resume has to play into this. What is most deserving? What does that mean? How do we quantify and qualify that? How do we take an 11-1 Power 4 team and leave them out? Well, the way you do it is you point at the conference and say the conference has had little to no success in the college football playoff. Now, you'll remember the mighty TCU Horned Frogs, Max Duggan, Sonny Dykes, who is still the head coach there, beat Michigan to play in the national championship against Georgia. But in essence, that entire move was negated by a 65-7 loss. I was in the building. I was in the building that night. Georgia and TCU. You could mark that as the death date of the Big 12 in the college football playoff. TCU still the only team to win a playoff game out of the conference. Even the ACC has had Clemson win the national championship in the college football playoff era. Obviously, we've seen Michigan and Ohio State do it out of the Big Ten, a myriad of SEC teams like LSU, Georgia, Alabama that have marched their way through the postseason and through the playoff. For me that year, my now ex-girlfriend, we all make very interesting decisions in life. My now ex-girlfriend attended TCU while I was attending Baylor. Wild. What was I thinking? The things that we do for perceived love. So TCU makes the national championship game against Georgia. They win an incredible Armani DiMarcado against Michigan goes off. Quentin Johnston goes off. Max Duggan is a dog. Time of the title game against UGA. Buy my flights. Go from Waco, Texas to LA. We get out there. And at SoFi Stadium that night, it's dumping rain outside of the complex. And what I didn't realize is it's not an indoor venue. There are gaps on each end zone. This stadium it has a roof, but it is not completely enclosed. The rain was blowing in so hard. It was raining sideways that the TCU fans in the indoor stadium were getting soaking wet watching their team lose 65-7. Before the game, I was walking through the concourse with a good friend of mine, and we saw an open door to a suite. Remember when you were in college and nothing mattered and you could do kind of whatever you wanted? Maybe high school was that for you. We saw the open door of a suite and thought, what if we just walked in there? And we did. In the complex, SoFi Stadium, Georgia TCU National Championship, we walk into these random people's suite, their box. Like, hey, we know the so-and-so's happy to be here. They told us to find you. We stayed the entire 4 quarters. Wings, beers, all you could ask for. Except for the money that I lost on the TCU money line. And what a bad decision, bad business decision that was. As a 58-point deficit befell the Horned Frogs. Pentatonics sang the national anthem. That was probably the coolest part of the night. After that, things went really south. And the Big 12 was not the same beforehand. Oklahoma couldn't win in the playoff, and now the Big 12, as seen by Arizona State last year in a close game against Texas that went to overtime, and then this year in Texas Tech's pummeling they took to Oregon. The Big 12 is a very big loser in the playoff era. And next year, Texas Tech will be right back there. Their strength of schedule, this is their schedule. Abilene Christian, Oregon State, Sam Houston State. Pretty easy non-conference. They'll go on the road against Baylor. They missed a bowl game. They'll go to Cincinnati. That's a Cincinnati team that finished 7-5. They'll go to Colorado, missed a bowl game. At Oklahoma State, they won one game. Then they'll host Arizona. It's a solid, salty Arizona team. They'll host a salty Arizona State team, a salty TCU team, salty Houston, West Virginia team that fell out this year. But each of those games get to be at Jones AT&T Stadium in Lubbock, Texas. There's a very good chance that once again next season we're talking about Texas Tech in the college football playoff, and we're looking back at 2025 and saying, well, did you not see what they were unable to do last year? This will mar the Big 12. It will mar Texas Tech, and it is not a good thing for the league. They are a biggest loser. My final biggest loser, Lane Kiffin, for watching his own team do it better without him. John Akers, IBM, late 1980s. He was the CEO, a lifer, as he called himself. Rigid suit and tie here at IBM. We value tradition over innovation. Tradition over innovation? John Akers, under his watch, IBM missed the shift to personal computing almost entirely. They missed personal computers, leading to a record-breaking $5 billion loss in 1992. The departure in 1993, when he was forced to resign, was an immediate move to the greener pastures that did exist for IBM. Within months of the exit, the company hired Louis Gerstner. Freed from the Akers-era bureaucracy, IBM pivoted from hardware to services. Stock prices tripled within a few years, and the company was saved from irrelevance. Lane Kiffin, the CEO, suit and tie, rigid, culture value, tradition over innovation. None of those things describe Lane Kiffin, but he was the CEO. And since his departure, Ole Miss has done something that with Lane Kiffin seemed very, very hard, and that was go to the college
1 minute
playoff semifinal. And then Lane got to sit, not even at home. He was in an LSU women's basketball game where the Tigers lost in their own complex in the Maravich Center to Kentucky. Kim Mulkey loses. Doesn't happen very often. Buy a lottery ticket, though that thing's depleted. Lane Kiffin sat there, watched on his phone as his players, his team that he helped build, his team that he abandoned, beat the Georgia Bulldogs.
30.
To beat the Georgia Bulldogs. And incredible.
Good hour.
Great hour.
So that's good.
Hey, that's all you can ask for, really.
We didn't blow up.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, your audio should be up in StreamYard now, Addy. Hold on, your audio's up now. You can speak to the world.
I know. That's what I was saying. I wasn't lying. Look, guys.
Right. I had muted you for a second.
Oh,
in case you were going to.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to drop an expletive. So,
I've from the inside of a potato right now.
Actually, what's so funny? Fun fact: I've only dropped an expletive on air once.
Wow. Okay.
Once, and it was. I was telling a funny story. It's whenever my first week when I was 21. That's important. I got really drunk and I fell into a concrete wall and I got a concussion. So I was telling that story and I dropped an expletive.
Hell yeah.
And my coach in college was like, because I was out with a concussion. He's like, how did that happen? I was like, I tripped. And he was like, you better not have been drunk. And I was like, thank God I wasn't.
Which expletive?
Wink, wink.
Give me the
I
letter.
was like, that's really funny. But I was telling that, and it was like late night. I think it was like 10:30 at night on like radio. And yeah, I dropped an F-bomb. It was the big one.
Oh, no, you didn't. On radio?
And they still hired me here.
The FCC's not going to like that.
Well, it's funny. Well, my beautiful, amazing board op at the time, he did dump it. He dumped it. So it didn't go out over the air. It did not go out of the air. I said it, and I remember looking at the stream, and I was like, who said that?
Yikes.
So, yes.
But that's funny.
What about you? Have you ever dropped something? Be honest.
Me?
Yeah.
I've never pulled a Scott Van Pelt.
Speaking of biggest losers.
Oh, that was not good. He said, "Oh, what are we? Love is in the air."
That's the bad part. Like,
That was
he meant it
so-
until he caught himself halfway through, so you know what he really is thinking.
Yeah, 100%.
Cat's out of the bag
Like
now.
Steve.
We need to have him on
Can't
Biggest
do that.
Loser. We need to have him an idiot of the day.
I was really I thought about how to play that clip and make it make any sense, but it's just you got to see it, you know? Like there's just no way to. And how would I ever describe that on national radio?
Just two bros kissing, you know.
Yeah, that's all it was. Scott Van Pelt was, oh, love is in the air. He said, "Oh, what are we?
Not allowed to kiss the homies anymore.
Can't do it, Scott."
It's not.
Jeez. Literally 1984.
Orwell.
There you go. I'm so proud of you.
Let's see what we have today. We're going. Is this idiots right now?
No.
Obituaries.
You idiots?
Are you idiots right now?
Maybe.
Believe it or not.
All right, 1 minute.
Thank you.
Yeah, I say that to myself now in the middle of the day, and it's all Addie's fault.
That's pretty bad.
It's like I'm a sleeper cell now, and if I hear "believe it or not," that's what sets me off.
That's good. Kurt Signetti on Striving for Greatness here, if we can, please.
Got it. All right, 10. Stand by.
It's Friday, I'm free again. I got my motor running for a wild weekend. It's finally Friday, I'm out of control. Forget the work and blues and let the good time roll. I got a little sugar.
Finally, Friday on the Drake Toll Show. Drake Toll with you. Westwood One Sports. Oh, time for our obituaries. Died today after 2 years of its existence. The college football playoff format. Actually, it's 1 year of its existence. They already had to edit it after their first season. Just blew up in everybody's faces when Arizona State, Boise State both got buys, and the country agreed, hey, we probably shouldn't have let those teams have buys in the college football playoff. And hand up, you're right. Let's adjust the format. So they did adjust the format, and therefore this obituary is of a 1-year-old college football playoff format. Kurt Signetti is an orchestrator of why this is in the obituaries as well. Here's what Signetti had to say after his big win against Alabama.
You're always looking to improve because you get better or worse. You never stay the same. And, The things that they talked about, the constant striving for improvement. I mean, I do try to live that way. You're getting better, you get worse. You're separating, or somebody's gaining on you. Yeah, my journey has been kind of surreal, but I think every move kind of prepared me for this challenge at this time with the changing dynamic of college football.
You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And the changing dynamic of college football is what Kirk Cignetti spoke on in his post-game press conference after Indiana routed Alabama. And it is further proof that we don't really need 12 teams. What this has become is an invitational. We're not crowning a national champion here. What we're trying to do is allow the best team in a tournament format or a tournament setting to rise their way to the top. An example of this would be the Texas Longhorns. I think there is a world in which those Texas Longhorns could win a national championship in 2025. I think there is a world where they would compete, at least compete against Indiana, where they could go toe-to-toe with Miami. They have the Jimmies and the Joes. They've got the X's and the O's. They have the NIL as well. But with Indiana dominating, Kurt Cignetti dominating people the way that they are in this current format, it is proof that we could have just done 4 teams. We could have just done 2 teams and probably got a reasonable national champion. Now, you'll go back to when Ohio State won the championship as the 4 seed in the first year of the college football playoff expanding to 4 or existing at all. And then in the expanded format last year, once again, as a team outside of the top 5, Ohio State, outside of the top 4, Ohio State marches on to win the national title because they were the best team suited for a tournament format. That's what we're crowning. We want the team that can survive the longest in a season. Addie mentioned it. We're getting to the point where most of these schools have a very good strength of schedule. They played a gauntlet in 2025 in their regular season to end it in the conference schedule. And now in the playoff, it is incredibly tough to sustain that for the extra 3 games you're going to be asked to play. And if you're asked to play those extra 3 games, what you then must do is be the most resilient team in the country. The best? Maybe not. Most resilient? Yes. The best? Most rested? Team that's clicking? Team that has the most momentum? Yes. In the BCS era, we didn't ask for that. In the era before that with the Bowl Commission, we didn't ask for that. We just played, hey, it's probably LSU's the number 1 team in the country, and Ohio State is the number 2 team in the country. You two go play in the Sugar Bowl, and let's crown a national champion. That was crowning a national champion. This is crowning the invitational winner and then giving them the title of national champion. Obituary number 1, the college football playoff format. Obituary number 2. Died 2 days ago. I don't even know if it was ever alive, by the way. I don't know if this was a thing that people were really banking on. But here on the Drake Toll Show, obituary number 2 goes to the support of Ryan Day. It has left the earth. The comparison, if you are an NFL fan, if you're a fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, of the Houston Texans, or the Los Angeles Chargers, you have been subject to Philadelphia Eagles fans complaining about Nick Sirianni. Eagles fans winning the Super Bowl, and then the second they lose a game in 2025, and yeah, they did go on a 3-game losing streak, and the Eagles have had a tumultuous regular season at times. The second we go into this year, you say, our Eagles fans all agree, Nick Sirianni shouldn't be the head coach anymore. What? How? He just did the Super Bowl. They love to complain about not playing to win and being too conservative, and Sirianni doesn't have that cutthroat mentality at the end of games. And from there, the fan base turns on Nick Sirianni. In college football, the direct 1-to-1 comparison is Ryan Day and the lack of support he gets at Ohio State. You can open, they're always the message board geniuses people talk about. You could open the fan forums right now and see that Ryan Day has no support. Kalen Deboer at Alabama can also be put into this conversation. Kalen Deboer walked into a program that Nick Saban had dominated in and said, I can replace the legend. And in an effort to replace the legend, Kalen Deboer has done nothing but disappoint the fan base. And now Ryan Day, in a school where he just won the national championship, has lost the hope, has lost the support of those in Buckeye country. Our final obituary goes to the Texas Tech Red Raiders and their $25 million roster. Now, you will turn your TV on. You will turn your radio on. You will listen to talking heads who go, man, Texas Tech bought a roster. Was it worth it? Texas Tech bought the roster. They paid NIL. They paid way too much. And I'm not going to make that case because I think that case is lazy. I think that case is uneducated, it's ignorant, and it's lazy. If that's what you said to yourself watching that game yesterday, is that Texas Tech is just here because they paid their roster, that is lazy. And the reason it's lazy is because Oregon spent $38 million to Texas Tech's $25. But the obit here goes toward the cash. Because I cannot fathom, as a regular human being, a blue-collar human being, you're probably driving to work today. I'm sitting at work right now, if you want to call talking into a microphone to you, work. And $25 million, I'll take a 25th of that right now and be fine. Just fine. Set. That 25 mil? Gone. Doesn't exist anymore. The season is over for Texas Tech. They spent $25 million, and it feels really good to win the Big 12 championship. It feels really good to compete, but you could argue the same thing for Texas. You could argue the same thing for Ohio State and for Michigan. You could argue this for Oklahoma. Think about $25 million just disappearing in the span of a year. You're a donor who paid $5 million for the wide receiver, the left tackle, the right guard, and now all of that money is just withered away into the void. I gave it to that kid who I got to watch play football for 3 months. Was it really worth my $5? If you have $5 million to just throw at that, who are you, and can you not just give it to me or the regulars here of the world? Instead, they're giving it to college football, and that is where the system is broken. You do not see in the National Football League donors brokering contracts with these players for them to stay with the team. Yeah, and the latest news, Justin Herbert signs a contract with KPMG. He's going to stay with the Chargers for the next 3 years for $20 million a year. No, it doesn't work that way. It wouldn't make sense that way. There wouldn't be an oil baron like Cody Campbell in Texas Tech that's giving money to players. I'm not mad at Texas Tech. They're doing what's within the rules. I'm not even that mad at their donor base. They are spending $13 million less than Oregon, who will likely lose this week. But it makes me so frustrated to wonder, how did we just donate $25 million that used to go to the betterment of the athletes? It used to go to the betterment of the school, of the fan base. We just pissed it away. That's gone. And it was fun to watch. But was it worth it for me to pay? Here's how broken the system is. My sister plays softball at Baylor. I can get on the phone right now and call any softball player in the country and say, I want to offer you $50,000. I wouldn't do that right now. I would offer you $50,000 to go to Baylor and play softball. I personally can use the money that I make at my job to make my sister's college softball team better. Maybe the true obituary here should be for all college sports and the way this system works, the way this thing works, because it sucks. And that $25 million is gone. 23-0. Texas Tech loses to Oregon. I'm Drake Toll. This is the Drake Toll Show. Addie Bates, it is time. Our headlines of the day today on the Quickie here on the Drake Toll Show. Addie, hit me. I have 1 minute to respond to each.
Ooh, we're going to start off hot here, okay? Lane Kiffin received $500,000 once Ole Miss clinched a spot in the semifinals and will take home $1 million if his previous team can capture a national title.
Bad, hate it. Spray it with water until it dies. I get it, contracts are a thing, and you've got to give Lane Kiffin his flowers for building this roster. And I thought about it this morning. If they win the national championship, so reluctantly, that administration is going to have to give Lane Kiffin a ring. And I hate that for the administration and fan base at Ole Miss. He left. He abandoned. There should be a clause in the contract that says, if we win and you're not the head coach, if we win and you left, if we just gifted you $500,000 for sitting at the LSU women's basketball game last night, that is a problem. It is an issue. It's not good. I don't like it. And I'm fine with Lane Kiffin. I love the grift. I think the grift is actually kind of funny. And I'm going to root for Lane Kiffin to win at LSU because I understand it. He's just a PR mastermind, a PR agent. So, yes, he's been idiot of the day. And, yes, I'm going to have him in conversation a lot on this show. But I see what he's doing from a marketing standpoint. I just don't think Ole Miss should be subject to continually paying him money for a team he's not even coaching.
Absolutely. Let's move on to some basketball, actually. Kentucky takes down number 5 LSU on a buzzer beater.
Any more context here? I want you. Give me this story in full. Women's basketball. Give me the whole thing.
You don't want the actual, just the headlines?
Oh, okay, fine. Then I'll pick it up from here. Sorry. I guess you make the rules of the game. Kentucky women's basketball, baby. Knocks off LSU. Come on. Kim Mulkey goes down. She walked in righteous gemstone style with Lane Kiffin. They're holding hands walking into the arena, and then she lifts his hand up in the most dramatic soap opera way. It was theatrical, to say the least. And now Lane Kiffin got to watch LSU lose on a buzzer beater while he watched from afar as his former college football team that he abandoned won a playoff game without him and in spite of him. And Kim Mulkey goes down. I spent a lot of years around Kim. She is a fierce competitor. We did not always get along. The times that we did were interesting. The times we didn't were also interesting. Kim Mulkey, LSU falls. Big win for Kentucky. If you can win in Baton Rouge against that women's basketball team, proves a lot. Congratulations to the Wildcats.
Hey, at least Lane Kiffin tweeted a picture of his family at the Ole Miss game. Maybe he wasn't there.
Just the picture of some 20-something-year-old girl's legs.
Ugh. Yeah. Yep. All right. Troy Aikman to advise the Miami Dolphins on a GM search process. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like that. Bring Troy in there, man. He seems like still such a good objective advocate for the game. I don't have a lot of great thoughts on the way that, like, remember David Stern was like investing in him, and the Hornets were super tight. And I don't love that Tom Brady as a mouthpiece for the game is as close to the Raiders as he is. But I think Troy Aikman, notable good guy. And I'm going to go with a yes vote to Miami for leaning on him for this search. Why not? He's well connected. They didn't ask me. Probably a good thing.
Hey, come on now. Quarterback Quinn Ewers now. Texas legend. All right, let's move on. NFL still. Baltimore's Lamar Jackson says he's playing Sunday at Pittsburgh, saying he's 100%.
Well, Tyler Huntley was the best quarterback in the world last week against Green Bay. So I wouldn't have been that upset if it had to be Huntley. If Lamar is truly 100% or feels like he can get close to 100% or feel like he could be close to what I imagine Lamar Jackson being and want and need Lamar Jackson to be and what the Ravens need Lamar Jackson to be to win, then good. But if this is just a case of I'm playing because I want to play and I'm not actually going to be very good, I'm still incapacitated, then I don't believe it's the right move for Baltimore, and I think it could be detrimental. However, these are two teams, based on what I watched this past week, different directions. I think Baltimore wins against Pittsburgh either way, with or without Lamar Jackson. And so if he can only go for a quarter, I've got confidence after what I saw from last week that the combination of Derrick Henry and Tyler Huntley can win.
Yeah, see John Mateer for an example of maybe you shouldn't play if you're a little injured. Okay, final one here. Kirby Smart, the head coach of Georgia, fourth down faux pas is on us as coaches, aka fork found in kitchen.
Yeah. Kirby Smart, good that he took the blame. You know, some coaches would look at their players and say, that's on you for going for it on fourth down, but nope. Big Curb, you called that play. And I thought the Georgia, what Kirby didn't understand seemingly in the moment is that this isn't your mom and dad's Ole Miss team. This isn't an Ole Miss team we can just kind of steamroll late. They're going to give up. They're going to bend. They're going to break. No, you have to put the SEC level of focus and pressure on Ole Miss and have that level of preparation, have that level of focus yourselves in late game scenarios, even on a fourth down. So if you're in your own territory on fourth and short in a game where it's still close and you can punt, punting exists, I vote punt. Kirby Smart didn't do so, and it bit him in the loss category.
I'm actually kind of proud of you. I don't think you went over a minute on any of those.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah. They call it the quickie here on the Drake Toll Show. Coming up, that's a whole lot of college football. Are you ready for the conversation? NFL Rookie of the Year, Ted McMillan, Tyler Shuck. Who should it be? The guy who has 9 touchdown passes? Gross. This is the Drake Toll Show.
Every team, every player, every story.
Shuck.
Why, Curtis? Why Shuck?
No, it'd be funny, I guess.
Yep.
Oh boy, Curtis. A couple different things. Let's push the phone number again in this segment.
Cool.
Curtis, just make the noise. Just make the noise yourself.
He could.
All right, 10.
Sweet.
Imagine a sports platform that talks with you, not at you. Your stories, your opinions, your one destination. This is Westwood One Sports.
We're back on the Drake Toll Show as the sun begins to rise on the East Coast. For those sentient, listening, tuning in today, touch yourself. Feel it. What a time to be alive in the middle of the college football playoff, the middle of the NFL playoff race. Realize, understand, accept the fact that you exist, that you're real, that you're in the middle of one of the great eras of sport. And why is it a great era of sport? Because sport exists, I say. And for that, as you drive to work, as you drop the kids off at school, as you prepare for one of the great weeks that we get in football, college football, the NFL, the FCS championship game this very weekend, as we prepare, how beautiful it feels. Now, I'm going to read you a list of names here on the Drake Toll Show. And I want to give you what all these names have in common and why these names are making me a very sad person on a day that we should be so happy about the state of the gridiron. This segment on the NFL Rookie of the Year is sponsored by Robinhood. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Phone line is also open on the Drake Toll Show. Drake Toll with you, 310-840-4910. 310-840-4910. Call or text the show. You ready for the list of names? CJ Stroud, 2023. Justin Herbert in 2020. It was like a new standard for that first-year statistical anomaly of quarterbacks where you're saying, wow, these guys broke into the league and they were legit from day one. They were commanding complex NFL offenses, and they were doing it immediately. When C.J. Stroud walked in the front door of the Texans office and began playing football for the organization, it just felt different. He was the catalyst to change. For an organization, for a team, for a franchise that needed to win, C.J. Stroud was that, and his numbers were dominant. Eric Dickerson, 1983, holds the rookie rushing record, 1,808 yards, a bar that has remained untouched for now, 40 years? Eric Dickerson, Rookie of the Year. Defensively, Lawrence Taylor, ever heard of him? Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. It was game-changing. Unanimous. Saquon Barkley in 2018. When he arrived to the league, you knew it. Adrian Peterson in 2007. After playing at Oklahoma, he walks into the NFL and he immediately dominates. Unanimous Rookies of the Year. Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, 1,000-yard receivers in their rookie campaigns. Nick Bosa or Chase Young defensively, you knew these guys are going to be stalwarts in the NFL for years to come if they stay healthy. Marshawn Lattimore, Sauce Gardner, you know Sauce Gardner. Kyler Murray or Cam Newton. RG3. Every name that I've given you so far, there is something that just feels right about it. Hall of Famers that won Rookie of the Year. Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. You can feel the mystique in those names. And here's the crazy part. It's not just because Adrian Peterson had a Hall of Fame career. It's not just because Sauce Gardner is still a great NFL player. It's not just because C.J. Stroud had an incredible run and has now led the Texans to the postseason once again. It's not just because Lawrence Taylor was one of the most dominant defenders in the NFL for years. It's not just because of what they did over the course of their career or what they are building in their current careers. It is because when their rookie year began, you thought that guy is different. Even their rookie campaign, you thought that guy is different. So you hear those names and you feel something. You hear those names and you feel NFL prowess. 2025, Rookie of the Year, Tyler Shuck. What happened to the game that I love? 2025, Rookie of the Year, Tet McMillan. What happened to the game that I love? I don't like it. I don't like that this award has become, what have you done for me lately? Cam Ward has had a very tumultuous, hard, bad run for the Tennessee Titans. And remember, everyone wants to tell you that the NFL MVP race is something that should be determined by strength of schedule. Well, man, Matthew Stafford's numbers are better against better teams than Drake May's. It's the NFL. And if we want to give the whole any given Sunday thing, like these teams are great any given Sunday, but we only want to give these awards to the guys who are really good on the Sundays against better teams. That is bad. It's not how we should determine this. But Cam Ward, hell, I don't even feel comfortable fighting for him to be Rookie of the Year. But what else am I supposed to do? Who else am I supposed to look at? Cam Ward, 320 completions in 537 attempts. That's not good. That's 59.6%. And I also do not think that this needs to be a conversation about how bad your team is, right? Like I've seen quarterbacks, CJ Stroud's an example of that, RG3 is an example of that walk into franchises and they win pretty quickly, and you're thinking, wow, they were the catalyst for change. So I don't want to say, hey, Cam Ward deserves Rookie of the Year because his team sucks. But I can't give it to Tyler Shuck. I can't give the Rookie of the Year to Tyler Shuck. Shuck's started 8 games. Yeah, he's 5-3. He's been really good in those 8 games. Cam Ward has started 16 games. Shedeur Sanders has started 6 games. Jackson Dart, 11 games. And he's been really good in those 11 games. Well, look at his strength of schedule. Look at his passer rating. Tyler Shuck's got the passer rating. But no. It's what have you done for me lately, Saints quarterback. And I don't even hate Tyler Shuck. This isn't a conversation about Tyler Shuck being somebody who I'm going to put on the pine that is going to fizzle out. No, I think Tyler Shuck's going to be very good in this league. I believe in him. I like the Saints. The Saints are fun to root for me. Living in Falcons country now, interesting thing to say, but I enjoy when they win. It just feels right. You think about Drew Brees. Now you think about Taysom Hill, Tyler Shuck, right? I don't mind the Saints. I don't mind Shuck. I don't think this is his fault. But how do we give the Rookie of the Year to the guy who started just half the season? Well, here's how we do it. We look at his stats last week. And if you're the Saints, you post he's number 1 amongst rookie quarterbacks in wins, QBR, completion percentage, 300-yard games. He's had 2 of those. Fourth quarter game-winning drives. Yeah, the Saints are winning. He's second in pass yards, 2,100 pass yards. Gets you second in the rookie conversation in pass yards. That's where we are as a league in the state of quarterback play and rookie quarterback play. And last week, Shuck goes 22 for 27, 333 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a comeback win over the Tennessee Titans. 333 yards, most by a Saints rookie ever. A guy with the last name Manning was a rookie there. 5-3, best record by a rookie quarterback, franchise history. You'll remember Drew Brees was not a rookie with the Saints. New Orleans has won 4 straight. They can keep the Panthers out of the playoffs. They could see the Panthers out of the playoffs. Tet McMillan. The other guy. 66 passes caught, 929 yards, 7 touchdowns in 16 games. Second in franchise history for a first-year player. Only behind Kelvin Benjamin, who had 1,008 yards in 2014. McMillan with a big week this week could break that. But you know what happened? He played bad on Sunday. He wasn't very good on Sunday. 27-10 loss to the Seahawks. So he wasn't very good. You know who was good? Tyler Shuck. There it is. Give him the Rookie of the Year award. And while you're at it, give Drake May the MVP award because he had 5 touchdowns when Matthew Stafford had 3 interceptions. Those two things don't correlate. Those two things had nothing to do with each other. But instead of actually looking at this and saying, okay, who played the best over the course of the year? We have a 1,000-yard receiver, Ted McMillan. He'll be a 1,000-yard receiver versus a guy who is pretty good the last few weeks. And I think Ted will lead his team to a playoff run too. It will lead them to the playoffs, I should say. Will there be a run that follows? I don't think so. Kirk Cousins, he threw for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns, beating Tampa a few weeks ago. Should we give Kirk Cousins the MVP? If McMillan, who is still the favorite, can just get to 1,000 yards, give him the Rookie of the Year. This says more, I think, about society than it does anything else. Tyler Shuck is 26 years old. He is 2 years my senior, and he could win Rookie of the Year. It doesn't need to be an age award, but my goodness, 26-year-old NFL Rookie of the Year. Any player from the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, they hear that and they laugh, they giggle. There are 21-year-olds starting at quarterback when they get to the National Football League coming out of college. But 26-year-old Tyler Shuck has a couple 300-yard games. And after those 300-yard games, we decide, give it to him, Rookie of the Year. Don't put an age limit on a Rookie of the Year, but it's a momentum thing. And the reason I say it says more about society, it's I want the thing in front of me. I want the thing that I see right here, right now. That's what give it to me. Give it to me. I deserve it. I've earned this. When we don't see what happened in week 8, we don't see what Ted McMillan did in week 7. We just see what Tyler Shuck has done for us lately. And that's what we've boiled down the Rookie of the Year conversation to, is what Tyler Shuck has done for us lately. Yeah, he's better than Cam Ward statistically in his 8 games compared to Cam Ward's 16 games. Yeah, he's better than Shedeur Sanders, who's won a couple games for the Browns and is, I think, an NFL starting quarterback for the next couple of years at least. I think he's built a foundation for himself to continue to play. Jackson Dart, love what Jackson Dart has done. He's been so electric to watch against good teams. He's not perfect. Obviously, rookie quarterback in a bad rookie quarterback class so far. But Tyler Shuck is turning the Rookie of the Year award into what the MVP may be right now, and that's what have you done for me recently? Last year, I told you, Lamar Jackson had way better stats than Josh Allen. But who won the game in the playoffs? What have you done for me in the last few weeks? I want to see that. I live in a society where I can go on the TikTok and I can scroll and I can change the video whenever I want. It can be 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and I can move on. That's what we're doing with Rookie of the Year. We're saying, oh, well, that's the cute, hot, sexy thing right now. Give me that. And that thing might be Tyler Shuck. This is my plea to the world. Ted McMillan is your Rookie of the Year. Ted McMillan is your Rookie of the Year, and it still doesn't live up to the names Lawrence Taylor, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Chase Young, Nick Bosa, offensive, defensive, I don't care. It doesn't live up to those names. Marshawn Lattimore, Sauce Gardner. It doesn't live up to Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders. It's Tyler Shuck. Is that what you want? Is that your NFL? Is this the league that you love? Because I don't think I like it very much right now. I don't think I like it in this format where Tyler Shuck, because he had a couple good games here recently, will win Rookie of the Year. Up next, it's your favorite part of the day. The idiot of the day is in our house. Josh Graham of Westwood One Sports will not join the show live, but he said something last night that I just can't get past. Idiot of the day is next on the Drake Toll Show.
Okay, I finally got the email. Like 2 minutes, so I should have it in there in time.
So 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Sweet. Addie, the StreamYard says hi. YouTube and Twitter.
Of course they do.
Hi.
They also say Tyler Shuck, Rookie of the Year.
Where are they saying that?
I like this take from
Probably in one of
Trevor
the
Renfro,
two chats
4232.
That doesn't come up on there.
So we should give Tet the award for simply playing 17 games? Shuck has been undoubtedly the best rookie at the most valuable position with very little to work with. It's a valid take.
I do love how you can see the beautiful in-studio Wi-Fi here on my feed. Love that.
Is that what that is? That's cumulative Wi-Fi?
Yes. Yes.
Potato fiber.
Yes.
We have Herm. Are we calling Herm or is he calling us?
We're calling him.
Nice. That's going to be a fun one.
Could I ask
I'll
about
pop
what he
in the
did to ASU? Too soon?
Yes. He's ASU. What was the you played to
30.
win the game.
All right, 10. And I have Idiot of the Day drop, so it's team up and I got you.
Drake Toll with you on the Drake Toll Show from the Savannah Bananas and Locked On Big 12. Get in on the action. 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910 here on the Drake Toll Show. Herm Edwards will join the show later. Claudia Bellafato will also join. Herm, the legendary head coach in both college and NFL football, National Football League football. Claudia Bellafato from CBS Sports. In the meantime, let's get to our idiots of the day.
Idiot of the day.
Yeah, here we go. Come on now. Give it to me. Idiot of the day, number one, comes from inside the house. There's a man who I have come to love in a very short time. His name is Josh Graham. I was listening to his show last night. I've been listening to him since Wednesday, and Josh does an incredible job. He is a great ally here at the company, and Westwood One is lucky to have Josh Graham alongside Linnell late at night. But he went too far. Josh called me the other day. He said, man, I want to let you know I enjoy the Drake Toll Show. I've been listening. It's good. And we talked about music and our love for the Avett brothers and how we've both seen them live so many times. He's a friend. But last night he went too far and booked himself a spot on the Idiot of the Day. Here's what Josh had to say on his very own show.
After today, it's time to stop considering the Big 12 a power conference in college football.
30.
There are only 3 of them now. We can call it the P3 just a couple years after it was the P5 and the Pac-12 ceased to exist. Which team in your league can win a title? Because if you want my definition for what makes a power conference, it consists of teams that, can be powerhouses, win national championships. None of the schools in that league are capable of doing that.
Josh Graham, wrong. Idiot of the Day number one, as the Big 12 Conference in almost every way has surpassed the ACC. The Big 12 Conference, despite struggling in the college football playoff, no doubt, in an era where Florida State and Clemson are not what they were supposed to be, in an era where an 8-5 team, the Duke Blue Devils, 7-5 at the time of their appearance, who had lost to UConn, won the ACC championship. You come in here to say the Big 12 is not a power conference, but that the ACC is, and that being a power conference is based on one team? One team? I've seen some really good success. I think that TCU, when they beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, they were in the Mountain West Conference. I think that TCU team, who beat up on a top 5 Wisconsin team, was national championship caliber. I think the Boise State team that beat Oklahoma could have given a run to the college football playoff that season. I think that when Utah went 13-0 and beat Alabama out of the Mountain West Conference, I think in those scenarios, the Mountain West Conference was not a power league, but had a team that could have won the national championship. So if your metric is only teams that could win the national championship, who are the top of their league, will certify their league as a super league, that's incorrect. It's bogus, because then the Mountain West would be a power league, and it wasn't. I know it wasn't. The Big East would be a power league back when West Virginia was in its heyday. BYU beats Georgia Tech. BYU does it without a single healthy running back. Houston beats LSU. LSU has 66 4- or 5-star players. Houston has 6, yet they still win. TCU, down by 10 in the fourth quarter, rallies to beat USC 30-27 with a backup quarterback, Ken Seals, who started one game in his TCU career. It was that game, and he won it on a touchdown pass in overtime. Utah 44, Nebraska 22, doubled up Matt Rule and one of the most expensive rosters, one of the most historic schools in the country without a head coach. Utah without Kyle Whittingham, who just went to Michigan and took a couple of players already with him. The Big 12 has proven this bowl season they can beat big brands like Nebraska and USC. They can beat Georgia Tech, who many had in the college football playoff with 3 weeks left in the regular season thanks to Haynes King. They can beat LSU. Ever heard of them? The Big 12 Conference has been in the national championship game. Yes, the national championship game more recently than the ACC. Well, the Big 12 doesn't have a team that can compete for a national championship. They don't have a national championship caliber team. The ACC does. May I say it again? The Big 12 has had a team in the national championship game more recently than the ACC, whose championship consisted of Virginia and Duke. Half the fans from those two schools didn't realize they had a football team. They were too busy being doctors, lawyers, successful members of the country. And those teams competed in the ACC championship. This is not against Miami. Miami's good. But to claim the Big 12 is worse than the ACC in a year where the Big 12 champion dominated their way through to the final 8 teams in the country, dominated their conference. Miami lost to SMU and Louisville. Well, that's a power conference. Idiot of the day, number 1. Reluctantly, my brother, Josh Graham. Good show, Josh. Good show. Other idiots of the day today. This is the greatest Hard Knocks moment possibly of all time. Bills' Sam Franklin Jr. goes up to Reed Blankenship in the middle of a game against the Eagles and says, "What up, Coop?" To which Blankenship says, "Nope, I'm the other one." Yep. White guy, cornerback, white guy, defensive back for the Philadelphia Eagles, Cooper DeJean, the Bills. Sam Franklin Jr. thought that he had Cooper DeJean on the line. It was Blankenship. That rocks. What up, Coop? Nope, I'm the other white guy. Idiot of the day, Michael Irvin. For whatever he's doing, he was all over Twitter the last few days. The TCU game, he's a Dallas guy, lives in Dallas. The Miami game, he's been on the Miami sidelines. If you watch that game, it was, I'm about to say something that might upset you. If you watched the NFL and thought, man, they got to get Taylor Swift on my TV. I'm tired of watching Taylor Swift. If you actually look at the amount of times they showed Taylor, if we're really bothered by that, I think there are other things in the world that we should be bothered by. Like, I don't know, racism and animal abuse. It's a callback from earlier. We shouldn't be bothered by Taylor Swift on our TV screens. we should be bothered by Michael Irvin on our TV screen, if anything. Every time Miami does anything, they pan the camera to Michael Irvin. His shirt's off. He's waving it around, and he's got a belt in his right hand, smacking things. Like, Mike, what are we doing? What do we? He gave an impassioned speech after the TCU game to a group of TCU fans in Dallas that was really, really incoherent. I like Michael Irvin. I'm a Michael Irvin fan. The energy's great. But we got to fix what's going on there. We got to ask the right questions to what Big Mike's doing. Idiot of the day today, Julian Sayin. And he has a bit to do with this, but not in full. He's not exactly the idiot because of what happened, but of what happened before Julian Sayin's role in this instance. 2019, the Open Division Finals. Keontae Scott, you may know that name, plays for Miami, had a pick six against Julian Sayin in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Return for a touchdown, Miami goes on to win the game. Keontae Scott, in 2019, in the playoffs, the finals, picked off Aiden Sayin. Aiden Sayin, the brother of Julian Sayin, and what did Keontae do? He returned it for a touchdown. In the finals in high school, and now in the college football playoff, he is now 6 years later picked off the guy's brother for a touchdown. That, he's got it out with the Sayin family. Not sure what they did to him, but he's got it out for them. Idiot of the day might be Trevon Diggs. Remember, I told you the Cowboys were the issue with this, and that Trevon Diggs was not the issue, and maybe he can go somewhere else and recalibrate, rejuvenate, win in the postseason. But now, Dan Rodgers is reporting that he's been given information from multiple Cowboys insiders. All of this alleged. But that Diggs did not complete his rehab at the Cowboys facility. The Cowboys have some of the best rehab doctors, some of the best physicians, some of the best staff in the world. If you need surgery, if you need rehab, you call the Cowboys. His mysterious concussion, Dan goes on, was initially kept a secret and may have resulted in colliding with a stripper pole? Question mark? I personally am digging deep into this to see what more information I can find about a possible stripper pole that caused a concussion for Trevon Diggs. He was not activated from IR because he had poor practices and was not following the direction of the coaching staff. Was denied, remember the story if you listen to the Drake Toll show. He was denied permission, Trevon Diggs was, to stay in Washington, but did so anyway. That was with his family during the holiday, so he could go to a concert, apparently. Combine all of this, Dan says, on Trevon Diggs, with having one of the worst performances in the league by a corner, and the real question becomes, why did
2 minutes
it take this long to release him? Nobody is picking on him. He's physically not a good player, and he's mentally a huge headache for the team. So while I went in on the Dallas Cowboys this week, there is a chance there's a second side to the story, and maybe the Cowboys are not the idiot of the day, as foretold. Could it be Trevon Diggs? That is the question. My final idiot of the day. NFL Films asked John Harbaugh, which current head coach in the National Football League has more career rushing yards, so it must be a player, more career rushing yards than Bo Jackson? More NFL career rushing yards than Bo Jackson. This question was posed to every NFL head coach. No one
1 minute
answered it correctly. They asked John Harbaugh. He kicked it around. He's like, D'Amico, no. Campbell, no. Vrabel, no. He wouldn't. Who is it? Who is it? Jim Harbaugh. John's very own brother. More career rushing yards than Bo Jackson. And for the rest of the NFL head coaches, I'm
30
not understanding the answer to the question, not knowing the answer to the question, because that's a wild poll. For John Harbaugh to not know it was his very own brother that had more rushing yards in a career by 5 yards than Bo Jackson. It's pretty awesome. Hey, that dial stays right where it is, right? That Westwood One app open? You got it?
Okay.
Edwards, the effervescent Herm Edwards, joins the show right after this break. You're listening to the Drake Toll Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
Drake told you see what I put in the Google Doc?
No.
Mm. Give a look at that.
Really?
No joke.
Well. Nice.
We're first.
Yeah, we are.
It looks like they're copying us. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's on you, Nick.
Going back to the old stream yard. Hello, world. Herm Edwards is on line one.
I'd be like, ooh, oh, can you teach me how to Dougie? That's true.
All right, 30.
You have the 8 o'clock rejoin?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The coach is good to go.
Love to see it.
Ten.
There ain't nobody here who can cause me pain, erase my fear, cause I got only love to share. If you're looking for truth and proof, you'll find it there.
Rolling back into the Drake Toll Show, college football playoff, the NFL playoffs on tap, and Drake Toll with you from the Savannah Bananas organization and Locked On Big 12. 5 a.m. That was the wake-up call today for Coach Herm Edwards to join the show. Coach, we are incredibly indebted to you and incredibly excited with this week of football. Big question I have for you, though. Man, it's the question of the hour for me. 26 days Georgia and Texas Tech, Ohio State had off before playing in their playoff game. What does that do to a football team?
Not good. Not good. It's too long. And I think any football coach and any football player understands that. The layoff it gets you all out of sync. And that's one thing about football. It's week to week. That. You can try to simulate things, but it's way too many days off. So that's just
certainly
my opinion.
It seems like the teams that are getting the warm-up game, namely Oregon versus James Madison, an inferior opponent compared to the Ducks or Tulane, Ole Miss, it aided Oregon. It aided the Rebels. If you had it your way, the Herm Edwards way, how do you fix the way the college football playoff plays, especially the idea that we're going deep into January with these teams?
Well, first of all, they got to change the format of how teams get in the playoffs. I think that's the first thing they need to change. But that's on their plate. You're talking about college athletes, and we always say they're student athletes. I don't know about that anymore. They get paid, so they're almost like professionals because you pay them money now. With that being said, I think they got to look at it and ask themselves this question: do you really want this thing to look like to continue to look like it's looking right now? And I think with anything, when voices outside the building become a part of the conversation about how things change, they look at it. So it'll be interesting to see going forward how they look at the format to get teams into the playoffs. And then how do these teams, as you just mentioned, this thing is a month and a half long all of a sudden. That's never good.
I've talked with a couple coaches recently, and I've heard a few different answers on the bye week, on those 26 days off. And some guys say they want the rest. Other guys say they want to shake the rust off. If it's up to you, would you rather have the better regular season and the bye? Or if you're coaching the team, do you want the game in round one that gets you prepared for the quarterfinals?
I'd want the game. I want to keep going. I wouldn't want 26 days. The only thing you can do with that time is you can simulate, have a semi-scrimmage with your team and all that stuff. You can practice, but it's a month off. It's almost like going to training camp, right? Or, like that first week or two is like, okay, we got to get back into football, right? Because you're not into football. There's nothing you can do to say you're into the football playing because you're not playing live. And that's the difference.
Looking at the games this week, learning how good the defenses of a Miami or an Oregon are, I think the standout for me was Indiana. How in this era, Coach, where players are getting paid, the transfer portal is so prevalent, you can bring in a quarterback whatever you want as long as you're paying enough money. How has Curt Cignetti done this at a 3-9 Indiana within just 2 years?
Yeah, it's phenomenal the job he's done, and these guys are undefeated. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch. How these guys methodically they stay in the game no matter what the score is. They just have this mindset of, and this is what happens when you're winning. Your whole team figures out, hey, look, we're gonna find a way to win this game. It doesn't matter. And, I've been fortunate to play on teams like that, at times coach teams like that, where you just find ways to win. And it's a wonderful thing to have, but it's like anything else, next year starts a new year. And that aura you had before, you got to create it again. And that's unique about it. And they got it going right now. There's no doubt about that.
As a head coach of the National Football League, you were no stranger to the postseason, the playoffs. Take us through, because, there's somebody driving right now in Hoover, Alabama. They're in their car, and obviously they've never had the opportunity to be in an NFL locker room, a college football locker room, and feel the difference of a playoff format, the air that comes with being in the playoffs. Take yourself back to those games, those moments, that pregame. What is the difference between a locker room on August 30th for game one versus what Alabama, Indiana, Miami, these teams are dealing with 30 minutes before they go live at the Cotton Bowl or the Rose Bowl?
Well, there's excitement. There's adrenaline rush, obviously, and the thing you have to do is really calm down because you're not going to win the game in the first quarter. You're just not. And you want the guys to just settle down into the game, And I always tell guys, look, your athleticism and who you were as a player the first game of the season. Remember, that's who you are. You can't change who you are. Don't try to get out of your skin and do something silly. Just be you. That's all you have. Just be you. And you don't want to make the game so big that it's overwhelming. But you got to kind of keep them calm too, because a lot of things happen in the first quarter of a football game. Some guys are uncomfortable. They try to do things that they shouldn't do, and you just tell them, just be who we are. And if you're like Indiana, you have this mantra of like, hey, look, we're just going to play and we'll be fine. And if we get down, don't worry about it. We'll find a way to win. And they've done a marvelous job of that.
Coach, a lot of people are judging Alabama or Texas Tech, even Ohio State, off the way they lost by double digits. And I think we rush to the conclusion that a team that loses by even 20 points is automatically just a bad football. We love to use the word fraudulent today, right? That team was they didn't deserve to be there. They didn't have it. Give me, from a coach's and a player's perspective too, how just one game cannot define a season, given if we play that game 10 times over, it may go different for an Alabama or a Texas Tech. In my mind, at least, we cannot judge in its entirety a season on one game toward the end against an elite opponent.
Well, the question you got to ask yourself is how many of your star players are playing in the game? That's another problem you got. A lot of these guys decide not to play. You might have 8 guys, 9 guys that don't play, that opt out. Some guys will leave to go to the portal. Some guys are getting ready for the NFL. It happened to me numerous times when we were in bowl games. And I didn't get mad at the players. I understood. I said, okay, you don't want to play. But all of a sudden now you're playing, your depth of your roster, especially when you got some star players not playing. You're a different team. People don't. The first thing they should do before all these games, they should put up a list of players that are not playing, that were your starters, and decided to opt out of the game. So, look, I know one thing. If you're in Vegas, they know who's not playing. They're setting the line on that. I know they do that. That's the first thing they want to see, injury report. Who's not playing, right?
Coach, I want to take this in a bit of a different direction now based on that. And I want to start with the athletes and then move to the actual NCAA and the way the NIL and transfer portal has gotten. It's a system that's got to be fixed. But starting with the players, your tenure at Arizona State, you saw the transfer portal. You're starting to see the early NIL era here. What does the word entitlement mean in college football in now 2026?
Well, I think, players feel now that they're emboldened and that they have a say on where they want to go and monetarily how much they want to receive, and it becomes a mess. It's just, they know that everything's in their favor. And, it's kind of interesting. I was talking to somebody and I said, it's kind of interesting. These guys opt out in these bowl games. A lot of these guys, they got to find some kind of structure when you pay this student athlete. Guess what? A lot of that's tied on to the bowl game. If you don't participate, if you're healthy and you don't participate, you decide to opt out, you get half the money. You get half the money. You ain't getting all of it. Have an incentive to where these guys want to play, because it's almost, what I've always said this, football is a team. It's not about the coach. It's about your teammates. You played all year with these guys, and all of a sudden the last game in a bowl game, a meaningless bowl game for you, because you will feel like I'm going to opt out or I'm going to go somewhere else. It's like you just let all these guys down, man. That's the most precious thing about football team. You walk in this huddle and there's 10 guys that you look across from and you go, you know what? I'm playing for these guys. I ain't playing for myself. I'm playing for these guys. That's what I always used to do when I walk in the huddle. I said, I don't want to let these guys in the huddle down. I mean, where is that going? I don't get that part.
Yep, no doubt. I've talked at length with Coach Gary Patterson, the TCU legend, about the bowl game system itself. And he said, that's 15 extra practices. This is an opportunity as a coaching staff to build for next season. And when the players are opting out, when you're down to these schools that have 30 players left on their roster, it is killing what you're trying to build as a staff. And I want to go from the player entitlement to the NCAA level and what we're allowing now. Because, Coach, if you ask me, Drake Toll, who, let's say I work for KPMG, the accounting firm, and I get an offer from Goldman Sachs, and I go from making $1 million at KPMG to $5 million at Goldman Sachs, I'm probably changing jobs, right? Imagine now being a 20-year-old, and there are adults in the room offering them $2-3 million to leave their school and go to a new school. They're talking about generational wealth here. I try to take as much of the blame as I can off the kids, because if I'm 19, I'm probably looking at $2 million pretty enticingly.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. I mean, and I get that part. I do. I mean, I understand all that. I mean, look, and there lies the problem. You know, it's money generated, and it's no different than the clock starts faster for these guys now than it did in the NFL. And some of these guys, you know, they are the breadwinner of their family all of a sudden at 17 years old. Yeah. They've made more money than their parents, right? And so, you know, that generally happens when it gets to the NFL. But now it's happening earlier. How do you deal with all that? How do you deal with the emotional strain on I'm going to say the word, a student athlete? I don't know how much student athlete he is anymore, because they go to 3 or 4. They go to, you know, what's funny too. They go to 3 or 4 schools, and I say, you know, it's amazing now. They all stay eligible now. All those classes transfer over really simple. Before you couldn't, you know, you were scared to death transfer because you didn't know if your units were going to go with you. But now it's easy. They transfer. Everything's good. Don't worry about it.
Coach, before we get out of here, it's Coach Herm Edwards joining the Drake Toll Show today. What you saw of these teams that are left, whether it's Ole Miss, who shocked Georgia, or Miami's defense, Indiana dominating Alabama, and Oregon's defense looking as good as anyone else in the nation, can you pinpoint which of these 4 teams has an edge with the rest of the playoffs on the line?
Well, not really. I think, you know, it's going to come down to your skill players. You know, I think that, you know, you've mentioned Miami, the speed of that team jumps out at you. They're fast. They always have been fast athletes in Miami. Oregon, you know, is one of those teams that they're big. You know, they've got some athletes. They seem to play in big games a lot. They're not uncomfortable in this situation, right? They're just not. They're used to it. Indiana's the new team on the block, and they're playing with a quarterback that is a great leader. Their head coach is a solid, you know, they believe in just the old-fashioned way how to do things. So there's some uniqueness in all these teams. It's going to kind of be fun to watch who ends up winning it all.
Yeah. Before we get you out of here, let's turn the page to Sunday. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, or even Saturday, with big games all weekend long out of the National Football League. I'll give it to you generally. Usually I give you a pointed question here, but what do you have your eye on? What is the thing that John and Hoover, who's in his car right now, has to watch out of the NFL?
Well, you mentioned it. I think Baltimore, Pittsburgh's a rock fight. And I think for Pittsburgh is, where do they get offense out of these wide receivers? Because with DK Metcalf not playing last week, you could see Aaron Rodgers was flustered. The receivers couldn't get open versus Cleveland. And now, you know, the big runner is going to play. I don't know if Lamar's playing or not, but do they stop Derrick Henry? That's going to be kind of interesting. And then, you know, you mentioned the other games. I mean, Carolina and Tampa, all of a sudden that game is going to determine who wins this thing for the most part. Can Tampa come off this bad losing streak they've been on, right? And can Carolina win the division? That would be interesting. Can they win the division? No one anticipated that, obviously. So, you know, San Francisco, Seattle, that's probably the best division in football. When you think about Seattle, San Francisco, and the Rams, this could determine if the 49ers win. I mean, they could play all the games at home. That's kind of interesting. You know, I want to see Chicago and Detroit. I want to see if Chicago can bounce back. You know, that was a heck of a game. That set defensive football back 100 years, that San Francisco Chicago game, with 80 points scored or something like that, 900 yards of offense. Can Chicago bounce back from that? You know, and and beat a team, Detroit, that a lot of people felt like they were going to win the division. They were a Super Bowl candidate. They're a football team. That's kind of interesting.
Coach Herm Edwards, thanks so much for the time. Super grateful for having you on the Drake Toll Show and incredible insights on the direction of college football, the direction of this playoff, and where the NFL sits this week. And it was great to have you.
My friend, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. There he goes. Herm Edwards nailed it. I think nailed it. These are kids that can build wealth that their parents haven't seen at 17 years old now, and trying to navigate that in college football the system just needs more infrastructure. And then in the NFL, the Panthers, Bucks, Seahawks, Niners, glued this weekend to, of all games, it's going to be a rock fight, like you said, between Pittsburgh and Baltimore for who gets into the postseason. Coming up, let's talk a little bit of New England. Let's talk a little bit more college football playoff. Where do the Patriots sit? Where do the Chargers sit? There are teams we haven't gotten to yet in the NFL for this weekend. And who will be the Rookie of the Year? Claudia Belfato joins the Drake Toll Show.
Sports.
I wish I could fully hear. I'm over here hey. Go do that. You go do that.
Swear words. You're live
on
YouTube and the Twitter.
I won't anymore.
Nice.
Chuck, he's gone.
Curtis, what do you think the people on Twitter want? What do you think the people on YouTube want?
Do you have any hot takes?
Do I have any hot takes? I feel like a lot of my takes. Actually, I feel like it's so funny. I feel like Drake and I actually we're opposites on a lot of things. But that's okay. That's okay. That is sports.
It's Kirch.
Maybe the people. Oh, look, Curtis, do you want to see Sinatra? Look. Did you see her? Did you see her? Kirch.
Google me. Okay. You got me?
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh. Somebody wants a positive women's sports discussion, not just about Caitlin Clark. Hey, I could, yeah, nice. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what sports? What women's sports? All of them? Softball? Bowling? Can we talk about women's bowling, please?
Yes. Drunkle Sam asks if Drake pees in the yard outside of the electric shed, and the answer is yes.
Oh, that's awful.
Just into the grass behind the shed. What else am I supposed to do? The shed's detached from the house.
That's something.
Almost forgot to call our guest, but we're good now.
Nice. How much time?
About a minute.
Okay.
Half, actually.
Claudia Belfato. Patriots.
Ooh, PWHL. I'll actually be playing the music at one of their games coming up soon.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right, 30. And 10.
Drums keep pounding a rhythm to the brain.
Back in the Drake Toll Show. Drake Toll with you from Savannah Bananas and Locked On Big 12. You're driving in your car. You're taking the kids to school. You're headed to work. You're thinking, what could be better than the college football playoff? The NFL regular season coming to an end as we go to the National Football League playoff. What could be better than this era, this year, this week, this time of football? The only thing better is having Claudia Belfato join the conversation from CBS Sports. Claudia, let's start Patriots. Just for you, if I say Drake May, do you say MVP?
I say MVP, and Jake, I would say the next best thing would be another Patriots Super Bowl. I don't know about you. The college football playoffs, NFL playoffs, that's fine. But another Pat Super Bowl, that would be nice. Drake May, MVP, maybe a little Vrabel Coach of the Year. Yeah, I'll take that.
So, okay, if we say Drake May MVP and we're saying New England Patriots possible Super Bowl candidates, how do you – and look, the AFC is so wide open and people are diluting the conference because of that. I think the opposite. I think that there isn't necessarily a full changing of the guard, but it is a good thing to see some proverbial new blood at the top of this league. And yes, it's the New England Patriots, but it's still that new blood moniker given – no Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. This is the Mike Vrabel and the Drake May era. Is this roster built to actually be a Super Bowl contender?
100%. Injuries are an issue right now. As we know, you take a look at the injury report, it's not pretty. But, we had Wilson, Tonga, Landry, Spillane all ruled out last week. We still beat down the Jets 42-10. And you talk about the threats in the AFC. Yeah, there's some talent, but it's really us and the Broncos. It's the two teams fighting for that one seed. And outside of that, I don't know if those rosters are really built. All the rosters that were built for the Super Bowl, some of them didn't even make the playoffs, and the others are also limping in. I mean, you think about the other team that's the big threat when it comes to the Super Bowl, the Rams, right? And that brings in the Matthew Stafford conversation. It's all full circle because then comes the MVP. Everyone wants to.
Claudia,
yeah.
It sounds like with New England too, and sorry to cut you off there, but I want to throw the Chargers into this conversation because it seems like they're waving that white flag to go to New England. That's a really good jumping off point to build momentum into the postseason.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be honest, I'd maybe parlayed a little Chargers and Patriots win just in case we do end up getting that one seed. Of course, the Chargers taking on the Broncos. The Chargers are another team that I've been excited about year after year. Justin Herbert being in the MVP conversation. But they're not the team this year. I don't think they're going to take down the Broncos. I think it's going to take a while for them. Justin Herbert himself can take over leagues, but they just haven't really put the pieces around him. The running back room's been banged up all season long, and Ladd McConkey sort of took a step back. So I think the Broncos are going to end up getting the one seed. I think what the Patriots can lean on is Drake May getting that MVP award, though. Going back to your question, I don't really understand why there's been a massive comparison between him and Matthew Stafford. I understand the numbers that Matthew Stafford are putting up, Jake, but I sort of dug into it. And we're talking a guy in his 17th year, his 5th straight year with his head coach, playing behind one of the best offensive lines in football. He's facing the 3rd lowest pressure rate, Stafford is. He has a number 1 top receiver in the league in Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams is his number 2 guy, and he's a 1,000-yard rusher in Kyron Williams out of the backfield. Okay, now let's look at Drake May. His 2nd year, first time with his head coach and OC, behind an offensive line that's allowing the 5th most pressures. He's been hit at one of the highest rates. He hasn't had his left tackle the last few games, doesn't have a 1,000-yard receiver or running back, and he's leading his team to a historic season. So even if, we don't make it far into the playoffs, which I think we will, I genuinely do think we can make it to the Super Bowl, we have to give Drake May his credit. And I do think you don't need, crazy pieces around you. We talk about this with Josh Allen all the time, right? If you have a top tier quarterback and you have weapons, you don't need elite weapons around you. You have a decent running game and you have a good head coach, you can make it to the Super Bowl. And that's what the Patriots have right now. They'll tie an NFL record for the best year after year improvement. So all of the flowers to this team, and certainly to Drake May, because he's putting up historic numbers and he, without a doubt, deserves the MVP award.
Claudia Bellafato, CBS Sports, joining the Drake Toll Show on Westwood One Sports. Claudia, on that note, the thing that I'm wondering about MVP is what those 3 letters mean. Everybody answers it differently with, it's a stats award, or it's a what have you done for me lately award, or it's an award for the guy who takes his team from a 4-win campaign to the 2 seed in the AFC. What does MVP mean to Claudia Bellafato?
The most valuable player, the guy who can extend plays, the guys who the rest of the team looks around to and says, yeah, even if we're down, we can storm back and win this thing. And I know in a lot of cases, the Patriots were ahead in most of these games, but I took a job with the Patriots before I came out here to Florida to work for CBS, and the vibe was different. I was working with guys on the pre and post game show that had been there, for 40 plus years. And they said, this year felt different. Nobody thought we would really get to 8 wins. Everyone thought it was crazy that they boosted up our win total to 8 wins. And everyone said Drake May has brought something different in here. And then when they hired Mike Vrabel, it was different. He is the most valuable player to this because he has the threat with his legs, because he's been so precise, historic completion percentage. Like, we're talking, he ranks first in overall situation as a quarterback rating on the deep throws, under pressure, on the road, when trailing, against zone, against blitz, against sub packages. We're talking, he is first among all quarterbacks in the league. So he is the most valuable because of that question we go back to. What does he have around him? He has Diggs, right? He has some good tight ends, and he has 2 guys out of the backfield that can help. But we're not talking the Puka Nacuas, the Kyron Williams of the world. So without a doubt, he's the most valuable asset to this team. And I get excited as a Pats fan thinking about what the future looks like, because this guy's only in his 2nd year and he's gone through a lot of change in just 2 years. So, the odds reflect that. He went from plus money. We're talking 30-1 before the season started. You can bet I'm, punching myself for not betting that. And now you've got to lay some pretty hefty numbers for him to win it. So market certainly thinks so. We saw it as high as minus 700, put down 700 to only win 100. So odds makers are certainly protecting themselves when it comes to liability, because he's proven that he is the most valuable player.
Claudia, I don't want to just box you to the Patriots either. Let's take that mentality and then put it toward Rookie of the Year in the Ted McMillan versus Tyler Shuck conversation. Because, again, there is a most valuable player to his team, most valuable rookie to the league here. What has he done to build up? And for Shuck, he's won games, 5-3 in his 8 starts. For Ted McMillan, he'll be a 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie. Who do you lean in that race?
Yeah, it's tough Because quarterback, I mean, we're always going to give so much credit to the quarterback. It's the same conversation around the MVP conversation. It's basically become a quarterback award. I think it really depends on the voters. Are you going to take more stock into the fact that, Ted McMillan came out and had a near 70-yard game in his first game and a 100-yard game in his second game? As a voter, I'd probably look at the bigger picture and say that Ted McMillan deserves the award maybe a little bit more, and the Panthers, I think, surprised some people in terms of how they played. The Saints are surprising people now down the stretch. They're on the 4-game win streak, and Tyler Shuck's getting some help from the defense. They've been solid. I think if I was a voter, I would look at the big picture, though, and say this is a really fun story for Tyler Shuck coming down the stretch. But Ted McMillan has put in that work since the start of the year. And I do think he deserves it, and I think that he probably will get it. But it's impressive to see Ted McMillan joined into this conversation, Tyler Shuck joined into the conversation, and that does give you better value on Ted McMillan if you want to bet it now.
She's Claudia Bellafato of CBS Sports, joining the Drake Toll Show. Claudia, let's open it up to the games this weekend, and maybe the most important one. It is Pittsburgh and Baltimore, two teams that, after what I saw Baltimore do to the Packers and what I saw Pittsburgh do against the Browns this weekend, seem like they are, at least for this week, in different directions. Do you have a lean in this game?
Yeah, I mean, we know that Lamar is going to be good to go now, which, I mean, the drama surrounding that is interesting. He's practicing, he's not practicing, but he's in. We know he's in. I go Ravens because I think that DK Metcalf's absence has a much bigger effect on the Steelers than some people maybe thought. As we know, they lost their tight end in Darnell Washington too. They managed just 6 points against the Browns. Nobody had more than 3 catches, and that really comes down to their deep threat ability. It's completely gone without DK Metcalf. Their top guy was Pat Freiermuth, and then Scotty Miller was the next guy with 25 yards. So yeah, the defense for the Ravens can focus on Jaylen Warren, who's had some decent back-to-back games. So other than that, not a huge threat out of the backfield. And the Ravens have Derrick Henry, who they're finally realizing they can lean on. He's in motion, no signs of stopping. And even if they had Tyler Huntley, okay, they got a 41-24 win against the Packers last week, but now they have Lamar Jackson. So yeah, for me, the Ravens should run away with this. I don't think they realize how much not having DK Metcalf would really hurt the Steelers offense.
Yeah, Panthers, Buccaneers, somebody from the South has to get in here. And 4:30 standalone game on ABC on Saturday. Is this Tampa's a 3-point favorite? Is this Tampa's game to lose despite how bad they've been for the last 10 games?
I teased the Panthers when this was down to 2.5, get through the 2 key numbers, get over a touchdown, just because I'm not super comfortable laying a field goal with a team that has lost 5 of their last 7. And the biggest issue there, Jake, is they're getting healthier, right? Like we were waiting, and the big excuse was that they weren't healthy. Well, they are healthy, and they got their weapons back. And, we'll see if Wirfs plays their left tackle. But Mayfield is just not healthy. He's dealing with a shoulder and a knee. He was limited this week, and it really does show. And they have even more injuries popping up on that offensive line with their right tackle, some guys on defense. So it worries me. This Panthers team, I know they haven't been consistent, but they've alternated wins and losses for 10 straight weeks. They're coming off a loss, so I guess they're due. I know Bryce Young hasn't been great, but Baker hasn't been either. So, yeah, if you're going to give me a full field goal, I would take the points there.
And then Seattle, San Francisco, Claudia Bellafato, CBS Sports, joining us before we get you out of here. How much do we see these two teams go blow for blow against each other on Saturday at 8 p.m., or do they take it easy knowing that the postseason, no matter what, is in their sights, but obviously that bye week is coveted?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone wants the number 1 overall seed. When it comes to this game, I do give the edge to the Seahawks, though. They're better in the trenches. They have the better defense, the top defense in the league. And again, going back to the quarterback play, they've won 6 straight games despite Sam Darnold not having standout games. Same amount of picks as touchdowns the last 3 weeks, sacked 7 times over the last 2 games. Now, I say that saying the silver lining here is the 49ers are dead last in sacks. They have the second fewest interceptions, just 6 on the season. Sam Darnold has some extra motivation when it comes to incentives this week as well. But I think when this line came out, it made sense. The Seahawks getting respect on the road as a slight favorite. So I do think the Seahawks come out on top here just because they're the better team. And despite them not looking, super sexy the last few weeks, they're still winning games.
Yeah, glued to it. Both of those teams on their own respective win streaks. And the 49ers, after they played the Bears last week, improving the offense is there. Seahawks defense looked much better against Carolina than they did against Los Angeles the week prior, and they'll square off with a chance for that number 1 spot in the NFC. Claudia Bellafato, CBS Sports, C Bellafato TV on Twitter. Claudia, thanks so much for joining the Drake Toll Show.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Jake. See ya.
Of course. And for you all in America, going to work, hanging out in Dallas. You're in Keller, Texas right now. You're eating your cereal, and you're listening to the Drake Toll Show on Westwood One. You're in Butte, Montana. You're driving to work, and you're thinking, what does MVP mean in the NFL, and how do we quantify or qualify who wins that award? You're wondering the same things as me, and we're having those conversations every day here on Westwood One Sports. This is Friday Trivia. And you don't want to miss Friday Trivia because I put you to the test against Addie Bates. It's the world versus Addie Bates. When we come back, this is the Drake Toll Show.
It's the final week of the NFL regular season, and the
the audio of the world. Somebody texted me today, the Bananas coach. I was like, hey, I've been listening to this guy in Dallas. I couldn't understand what his name was until this morning. So I need to be more Drake Toll. Hard name. When I say it to old people, like, hey, good to meet you. I'm Drake. Greg? Drake. Greg? Drake. Jake? Drake. Greg? Yeah. Yes. Greg. Drape.
I'm sorry.
Greg's the worst one.
I love that.
It's just like not even close. It's just
Greg?
a letter name.
They always do it so aggressively too.
I always get the when I go like, "Hey, I'm Maddie." Like Maddie? I'm like, no, Addie, Maddie. Like close. And I literally sometimes I'm like, my real name is really hard to like if you just read it, like to guess what it is. So I just respond to anything. I literally go close enough. I'm like, sure. We'll go with that.
Can we play Joey McGuire and Fernando Mendoza here?
Yep.
Thank you. Actually, Curtis, will you do me a favor?
What's that?
Will you play the final call of Texas Tech and Oregon right into the Joey McGuire quote?
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
At 30.
Can't say that out loud.
Still broken. All right, 10.
I got a sweet little baddie and she's rolling in the caddy with me.
Bump it. The Drake Toll Show. I'm Drake Toll from the Savannah Bananas organization, play-by-play, and locked on Big 12.
Orange Bowl. Oregon 23 to nothing. The shutout.
And I truly believe it. Like when you do something that nobody's ever done what these guys in this uniform. And so then the standard's set. And, you know, that's where you start building something really special. And so I can't thank them enough. And this is going to hurt for a long time.
Drake Toll on the Drake Toll Show from the Savannah Bananas organization, doing play-by-play over there and locked on Big 12. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. That was Joey McGuire after Texas Tech fell to Oregon. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that 26 days off in college football probably put you at a disadvantage when it comes to playing in the college football playoff. And a big piece of this is that 26 days off of anything is going to hurt. Remember, 10,000 hours of something will make you the expert. If you take 26 days off from playing the piano or from going to your job at KPMG, things feel a little different. If you're playing college football, you take 26 days off. In those 26 days, you cannot tackle. You can simulate things, but you have non-contact practice or no tackle practice. You can't bring guys down to the ground because the last thing you want is to come to the podium after a practice and say, yes, our star player XYZ tore his Achilles, broke his fibula, broke his wrist because we were tackling in practice preparing for a college football playoff game. 26 days off is going to hurt you. For Joey McGuire, certainly the standard is reset, but if the standard ends with a 23-0 loss, $25 million roster. Now, Oregon's roster was $38 million. This is a money contest. Whose is bigger in the wallet category? I don't think Texas Tech should be overall judged for this loss if we don't judge the SEC based on what Alabama did, a team that's already won a playoff game. If we don't judge Ohio State losing by 10 points to an ACC team that didn't go to the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship, an ACC team in Miami, listen to this, an ACC team in Miami that lost to SMU and lost to Louisville. And Duke won their league at 8-5. Now, transitive property does not work in college football because if it did, then Alabama lost by double digits to Florida State. Florida State lost to Stanford. That would mean that Stanford is better than Alabama, and we know that is not the case. We know that is not a fact. Transitive property doesn't work. And if Oregon and Texas Tech played again, who's to say Baron Morton doesn't have a different day? But what we're learning is the haves in college football are going to continue to have. Oregon had a $13 million lead on Texas Tech in the roster category. Indiana is doling out money hand over fist to Curt Cignetti and company, and it's paying off. And the reason these schools are doing this is because athletics are the doorstep. They are the front porch of your university. Coach Gary Patterson, the TCU legend, he tells me often, he says, what's crazy is that TCU, when I first got there, would get 4,000 applications a year, and they would take 1,500 students. By the time we were winning the Rose Bowl, TCU was getting 30,000 applications for students to go be a Horned Frog. It's what football does. You pay money to be good, people come to your school. And listen to this. Are you ready for this? The more people that come to your school, the better chance that they're the next vice president at KPMG and dumping money into your program, or that they're an oil baron like Cody Campbell trying to save Texas Tech and save college football. I don't think this is as damning on the SEC and the Big 12, as damning on the ACC as everybody says it is. Teams win and teams lose. It doesn't mean one specific conference is completely out of the picture nationally for years to come. It doesn't mean that the SEC is the worst conference in college football, but it does mean there is a changing of the guard. And the haves, the teams with the most money, that also have combined it with enough culture, Dan Lanning, Curt Cignetti, those teams are going to win. Well, I listened to the radio today, and the guy told me that only the rich teams are going to win. Well, no, not exactly. If that was the case, then the Texas Longhorns would certainly be there. Ohio State would still be in this. Michigan would be a front runner. No doubt. 100%. It doesn't work that way. It takes the perfect concoction, the perfect combination of character, of grit, and millions of dollars. I'm Drake Toll. This is the Drake Toll Show. The very first week, the coronation of Westwood One Sports. You've been right here for the entire thing. Thousands of people across the country. Boise, Idaho. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Greenville, South Carolina. To Gulf Shores, Alabama. And Jonesboro, Arkansas. Tuned into the Drake Toll Show every morning this week. Can't thank you enough. And before we go to Nick Costos for You Better, You Bet, it's time for Friday Sports Trivia. Addie Bates, the producer from Washington, D.C., are you ready?
I guess I have to be.
Okay. I'll tell you how I did this. I went to Gemini, the Google AI service, and said, give me 8 sports trivia questions at a 12th grade level. Can I give you one of them? Because I ended up canceling this prompt.
Yes.
Addie, during the 1968 Olympic events in Mexico City, American sprinters Tommy Smith and John Carlos famously raised their black gloved fists on the podium. What was the name of the organization they were representing? See, yeah, no way, right? Like, there's just no way.
Black Panthers?
No, the Olympic Project for Human Rights.
Dang it!
Summer
See,
Yep.
Give me music.
Yep. So that's why I decided we're going to move on from the 12th grade, and we're going to drop it down a little bit here.
5th grade.
To 9th grade. 9th grade level sports trivia. In high school, how many personal fouls is a player allowed before they are fouled out and disqualified from the game? In high school.
5.
It is 5.
Yeah.
Nice. She knows her high school basketball.
Well, I was the queen of getting technicals.
So I just gave you a 12th grade level question, right, of the Olympic Project for Human Rights. This is the beauty of AI. This is your second question at a 9th grade level. Which NFL quarterback, known for his time with the Patriots and Buccaneers?
Tom Brady.
Yeah, she nailed it. Retired with 7 Super Bowl rings. Who was his coach for the Patriots? I'm sure that would.
Bill
that question
Belichick.
would also be
Jordan. Never mind. Bill Belichick.
So I'll take you back to the 12th grade then.
Okay.
While Wayne Gretzky holds nearly every scoring record, which player is the only one in NHL history to record 100 assists in a single season besides Gretzky?
Assist?
Uh-huh.
Assist. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Why do I want no Gordie Howe?
You're going to say a whole lot of names here that I do not know.
Gordie Howe. Assist. That's who is it?
Connor McDavid.
I should Connor McDavid just doesn't. He just needs that one thing. What's that? Championship.
Even I know the name Connor McDavid. Come on now.
Did you know that was
All
the
right.
answer though? If I would have asked you that.
I mean, I don't even know if I could have named a hockey player. Once we got Gretzky out of the way, I would have probably gone like Jake Ottinger there.
Do you know who
I'd
Alex
pull out
Ovechkin is?
A Tyler Sagan. Yeah, I got Ovi. I could have said Ovi. I could have popped that in there.
Okay.
I've been wrong, actually.
No, I just didn't know if you would have known. Okay.
Yeah. We're back to 9th grade because that was a lot. What is the standard distance of one full lap around a typical outdoor high school running track?
400 meters.
400 meters.
That was my event when I ran track.
Yeah, it was.
Go back to 12th
What is
grade.
the defensive position numbered 1 on a standard baseball scorekeeper's card?
Pitcher.
Yeah, no doubt. 100%. Term for a serve that lands in the service box and is not touched by the receiver in tennis, resulting
Ace.
in an immediate point. That's an ace. What is the name of the sugar found in the bloodstream that provides the primary source of energy for athletes during high-intensity exercise?
Glucose.
It's glucose.
Woo!
Glucose.
I'm so happy. I'm not looking like an idiot out here.
That was the toughest one. Yeah, I'll give you a couple of these 12th grade ones, and I'll refine this for next week. Which NCAA rule, effectively overturned by Supreme Court in NCAA versus Alston, previously prohibited student athletes from receiving compensation for their name, image, and likeness?
What's the question? What are you asking?
Which NCAA rule overturned by the Supreme Court previously prohibited student athletes from being paid?
I don't know. Title 9. No, I don't know.
Not Title 9. No.
10.
The-
10. 10.
Title 10. Yep.
10.
The
Yes, thank you,
amateurism
10.
rule. The amateurism rule is what I was looking for. And the last one, in the 1986 World Cup, Diego
2 minutes.
Maradona scored 2 of the most famous goals in history against England. One was the goal of the century. What was the controversial name given to the first goal he scored with his hand?
I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to see this right here. I don't watch soccer.
Yeah, there you go. The hand of God.
Ah, yes, of
Yep.
course. Of course.
And you don't know the only golfer to win the Grand Slam in a single calendar year, do you?
Wow. Who is
Close. It's Bobby Jones. You almost nailed it there.
I thought I had it.
Speaking
Do you have
of
anything
fun.
with like bowling, professional bowlers?
No.
First $1 million
who do you think you
athlete
are,
came
I
from that.
am,
1 minute.
would be Pete Weber.
Yes,
Pete
who's his
Weber, who
dad?
do you think you are, I am?
Who's his dad? Famous bowler.
Chris Weber.
Dick Weber.
Chris Everett. All
Weber.
right. That's enough of the Drake Toll Show today. Come on. Nick Costos with You Better, You Bet is coming up. What a weekend we have. Glue yourself to your TV. Gosh, if your significant other says to you, I can't wait to go to the park. Let's go see the sunset. You say, no,
30.
I have a life, and I'm going to watch sports because the Baltimore Ravens play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you can see who will clinch the 1 seed in the NFC. And, of course, the Panthers and the Buccaneers in the Hall of Suck. Someone still has to go to the playoffs out of the NFC South. It will be one of those 2 teams. This has been, and it always will, across the world and across the country all week long on the Westwood One app, the Drake Toll Show YouTube, and on your radios. Addie Bates producing, Curtis Poindexter on the board, the Drake Toll Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.